All right, welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Sorry about the late start here. Had a few things I had to get figured out, but we're back, and Eric will be joining us here in just a moment. Today's roster is a little bit light, but it is sponsored by Pro Sports Zone in Livonia. Please check out Pro Sports Zone today at the Laurel Park Place Mall, where you can find all of your sports needs, whether it's gear, shirts, hoodies, jerseys, memorabilia, signed merchandise, you name it. John Yu has it all at the Pro Sports Zone there in Livonia. Up in hour one today, we're going to talk about the Lions signings from yesterday. Not a whole lot really to report. There's only one that's really new. And then, oh my gosh, Dirge Sherilis. What in the world just happened to him yesterday? We'll speak on that for a moment. Then NFL Power Rankings were released last night. We'll talk about that today. Is Manu a mistake? I'm seeing writing on the wall here from a few reporters that they're thinking that Manu is already a mistake. And the NFC win-loss predictions. We're going to get into where do we see these teams fitting, and then we'll be off right by 10 a.m. today, if not before. We're going to get all of this talked about. We're going to get it all on the table today and a little bit more when we come back here in just about 90 seconds.
Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future.
Oh, great.
Evolution. This is the future.
Oh, great.
Evolution.
All right. Good morning, Eric. How you doing today, man?
Morning. Doing excellent this morning.
As every day, you seem to be having a good chipper morning. That's always great to see. So before we get rolling on today's roster, I need to get chat open because I don't have it open. But anything you want to talk about while I'm getting a few things organized?
Yep. So there's a couple things I want to say. The next time you have Coach B on, you better have the phone line open.
Uh-oh. Hold on. Let me mute myself for a second.
Because, listen, I had some rebuttals for that guy, and I had no way to do it because the only thing I could do was talk in the chat. And I've known Tony for forever, for years and years, like 20, 30 years. I've known him forever. And we've always had this back and forth on Facebook with each other, and he's always SOL and I'm always brand new Lions, and I'm forever the optimist. Even when the Lions went 0-16, I still believed they were going to win every game and rooted for them with my last dying breath every single game. And, you know, Tony ever since has had to tell me how they're going to lose every game and they're not going to win. And well, they suck, and we need a new coach, and we need a new quarterback, and need new this, new that. And the last couple of years, the Lions started pulling off all these wins when he said they weren't going to. And he wanted Campbell gone. He wanted all this stuff gone. He wanted AG gone. You know, he didn't like Hutch. He didn't like this guy. He didn't like that guy. Well, guess what? All these guys are working out. And so last night when he said that Bates sucks and we need to get rid of Bates, I just wanted to come through the damn phone and strangle him. But
yeah,
listen,
I mean, that's
open the phone line.
Yeah, so I'll do it next time. And it's usually open and people just got to call in. But The thing is this, and people in the chat need to know that when I have guests on, right, I don't always share in their opinion. I don't put out a disclaimer or anything. I just think that you should know and understand that, when we have guests on, it doesn't always mean that we share each other's opinions. And I tried to say that in the very beginning, that anytime I've had a chat with Tony or anybody really, it's he has vastly different opinions than I do. So I'll comment on the things that, people say or topics they bring up. Some things, I may agree on. I'll let you guys know that. But no, Tony is an ultimate realist.
And he's hilarious. He's funny. He's kind-hearted, and he's the coolest guy you'll ever meet. He's huge. He's absolutely huge. He wasn't lying when he says he's 6'5", 340. He's every bit of it.
He's a Giovanni Manu, just short a couple inches.
Yeah, he's a massive human being, because I stand next to him and I feel tiny, and I'm 6'3", 220. So I mean, I feel like a little shrimp compared to Tony.
So Brent Lighten right away in the chat. So he was watching last night.
Yeah,
and he said Coach brought up Hutch disappearing for 10 games last year. That was directly after the one-handed interception against Carolina, after which he took a helmet to the thigh. He said was hurt for 2 months from that. So, I mean, I understand. What's that?
He was injured, and
he was not.
Yes, he was.
Hutch was not injured. He was not on one injury report.
Doesn't matter.
So
there was something off for quite a while, and that's what it was.
Hutch would never make an excuse for his not being able to get to the quarterback. But, you could say that about every player after week one. Everyone's banged up. After week one, game one, everyone's got nicks, cuts, and bruises. They still got to go out there and do their job. That's why these guys get paid $20 million a year.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to nut up. You got to go do it. And if you can't, then you can't. But I'm not. And again, it's not like I'm being overly critical of Hutch. I think we're just going to tell you what we see. It's based on stats. It's based on facts. You can see it. You can watch the game. You can tell when someone doesn't get a sack because it doesn't happen. Or you can tell when they're losing their one-on-ones because they are. You can also tell when they're getting double teamed and when the stupid chip in the shoulder pad or the helmet is telling people that they're getting double teamed and triple teamed when it's not reality. Reality is AI can't tell you everything. You have to watch the game.
Yeah.
And some things are mistaken for double and triple teams, like a chip. That is not a double team.
Yeah.
It's a chip. That's why they call it a chip. It's a blocker that's pulling, or running back, a tight end, a pulling guard or a tackle that's making second contact with somebody. So those are all things that I've spoken to over the last year. Hutch has done one thing, and that he has played incredibly well in spurts. Just hasn't been extremely consistent. This is the year I expect for consistency. I think will start to settle in for him. One, I think Terrell Williams is going to dial him in. Two, I feel like he has more help now across the defensive line where Hutch doesn't feel like he has to do it all. And he doesn't have to do it all. And I think that you guys are going to see a much better season for Hutch, maybe not as impactful in the stat lines. I think it's going to be a better overall season. He doesn't need to blow up the stat sheet. He doesn't. Not to be successful. Maybe to get some of his, bonuses, he would need to blow up the stat sheet, but I don't think that it's warranted or needed. He just needs to play the game the way that it's supposed to be played, and everybody wins. We just want to win. I don't care about stats. I just want to win. There's only one stat that I care about, and that's that we have one more point than our opponent at the end of the game. That's it. That's the only stat that matters.
Well said.
So we'll see where it goes. But Brent, I'm not, arguing with you or anything. It's just, I didn't see Hutch on any injury reports. And I'm sure that deep thigh bruise that he had was very painful. I'm sure that it was. But he still played pretty well in those 10 games. He just didn't get home. I think that was the only difference. He still had tons of pressures, just didn't get home. But we'll see all that change this year. I guarantee it. We'll see it change this year.
We haven't seen anything out of Hutch in the preseason. And what have you heard about Hutch in practice?
He's a man amongst boys now.
Exactly. That he is manhandling even Penei Sewell now. So get ready. This kid's on a mission.
Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron, right?
Let's see here.
Hey, we got 54 in the chat. Let's get those likes up to 50. Keep the ads off today.
The feed is choppy. I don't have any choppiness coming through. I have 0 dropped frames. Everything should be good on our end.
Yeah, that's got to be their signal because I'm watching it on my phone and it's perfect.
Okay.
No lag, nothing.
Sorry, Randy. I don't think it's us, buddy. I don't know what's buffering, but we seem to be good over here. You guys are a little bit behind us, I think, too.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how it plays out, but everything on my end shows 0 dropped frames this morning. If it does change, then I don't think I can really make a change in stream to like drop the frames a little bit. And sometimes YouTube just does that. Sometimes they do that.
Yeah, they do it on purpose sometimes.
All right, so where's the roster at? What do we got? Lions signings. So, and then we'll get into Gosh Your Chairless right after that. Yesterday, Lions had a flurry of signings, but I think that what was being reported was a little bit of misinformation because the signings that had happened that were reported by Aaron Wilson were not new signings. These were just guys that they brought in over the last week or two, and for some reason they were just all reported. In the last 24 hours, with Ty Summers, who else did they bring in? Ty Summers. Oh my goodness. I got to pull up the depth chart now. Brain is fried today. Yeah, maybe YouTube's having some issues. So we got someone in Florida that's got a choppy feed. Jack 2125's got a choppy feed. Let me pull up my phone here. I still have 0 dropped frames. Hold on. Just double check. For some reason on YouTube, it's showing me just stuck. What is that all about?
You're moving on mine.
All right. We'll see if it changes now that I change the scene. Okay. So anyway, the Lions brought in multiple players over the last week. And that largely because, of injuries. So they brought in Ty Summers, Abraham Beauplan, and Essang Basie. And those 3 players were on the roster last week. I mean, they were in the game this past Saturday. Some of them were. Majority of them were. And they were just signed to 1-year deals, for the rest of the season. I don't know why it was just reported. It makes no sense to me. So the only one that was new, though, was the Lions brought in another linebacker. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. I've already tried this morning multiple times, and it's not happening.
Yeah, just Joel's good.
But Joel Iwi is what I'm going to go with. Was signed by the Detroit Lions yesterday. And this is largely in part because Deron Gilbert is, waived injured, and Malcolm Rodriguez still has not played since joint practice with the Giants. So we're down a linebacker. We're down a linebacker that is supposed to make this roster. And I think that that's a little bit of cause for concern that, I think the Lions are trying to fit 6 onto this roster. I really do. I think that's the number this year is 6. I think AG kind of gave us that answer the other day. Of course, he could be full of it too. But I don't know much about Iwi other than he saw a lot of action in the UFL. Former San Antonio Brahmas. He tallied up 14 tackles over 8 games. Before that, his last NFL appearance was with the Carolina Panthers in 2022, where he only had 2 tackles in 7 games. And he's 28 years old. He brings experience from his first 4 NFL seasons from the Chicago Bears, who did select him in the 4th round of the 2018 NFL Draft out of Western Kentucky. If memory is good to me, was Josh Paschal out of Western Kentucky or Kentucky?
Kentucky.
It was Kentucky. Okay. I thought maybe we had a pair of Western Kentuckys, which would be rare. So anyway, he earned first team all conference USA honors in 2017. So it's not like this guy is, a bad football player by any means. He's probably just had a bad run of luck, hasn't caught on, and maybe hasn't earned enough playing time yet to show what he can do. But he's, 4, 5, 6 seasons now of experience between the NFL and the UFL. I love experience. I think it's great when you bring guys in like this that do have experience. You don't have to teach them a whole lot. You just have to teach them your scheme and what you're trying to get done. Very, very outside chance this guy even sniffs the roster. So I wouldn't put too much stock into Joel Ewee, but I'll reserve my opinion until I see him play on Saturday, or whenever our next game is against the Steelers. I'm sure he'll get in for a few snaps. What do you think about these signings? Obviously, the guys were already on the team, but
Just
Joel.
camp bodies. It's camp bodies, plain and simple, nothing else.
All right. So Tracy says, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. There's 70 people in here. We've got 30 likes. Remember, ads will stay off. All we ask for is your thumbs up this morning. Give us a like. Send the stream to all of your other friends. And the algorithm does that for you just by liking the stream. And of course, if you guys have not subscribed to the channel yet, please do. Give us an opportunity to earn your subscription. Stick around. Big announcement will happen here before the second hour. But go ahead, Eric. I didn't mean to cut you off there, buddy.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Broski Bear, the most diehard Bears fan in the world, Chicago Bears fan, is in our chat right now. And even he says, get off your butt, hit the like button, and subscribe. And that's coming from a Bears fan. So if the Bears fans can do it, come on, Lions fans, step up. Let's hit that like button.
Appreciate that, Broski. Broski's good people. He just tends to get lively in the chat a little bit when we talk about his Bears.
One more thing. I have to give a shout out to one of our super fans, Michael Garrity.
Yeah.
He lost one of his pets the other day, and he's going through a really, really, really tough time on social media. And hey, Michael Garrity, we're here for you. I can't wait to go to that game with you against Tampa Bay in week 2. Dude, things are going to get better. And just know we're all here for you in the Lions crew that we got going on here. We're all here for you, buddy.
I didn't see that, Michael. I haven't been spending really much time on social media, so I apologize, man. I just lost a dog too, and it's really tough. Really, really, really tough. It does get better, but it's not easy.
Man, they're your kids, dude. Especially for people that, their kids are grown up and gone away. My cats are my kids now,
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is.
All right. So what's next on our roster? We have Goster Chairless, right? I don't know what the hell happened yesterday with Goster. He he apparently had a major meltdown. Here's the headline that caught my eye. Former NFL player accused of urinating on fellow passenger on a Dublin flight issues apology. I see that. And I'm like, who on earth would do something like that, right? And then I got to reading a little bit further and I'm like, oh my God, it's a former Lion. And this just kind of opened my eyes a little bit to continue to read and continue to search. I still don't really understand how it all went down other than here's what it says. On Delta Airlines Flight 154 heading to Dublin from Boston on Sunday, it was diverted and forced to return to Logan International Airport because of an unruly passenger who urinated on another passenger on board. Police said troopers boarded the aircraft around 2 a.m. Sunday and commanded the player to leave the plane, but he became irate and uncooperative. Eventually, they escorted him to the jet bridge and arrested him. The passenger was identified by police as Goster Chairless, age 40, of Wakefield, Massachusetts. Chairless appeared in court on Monday and pleaded not guilty to charges of disorderly conduct, disturbing a flight crew, and resisting arrest. Now, he issued an apology. He said the flight was unexpectedly delayed for approximately 4 hours. In preparation for the expected overnight flight, I took a sleeping medication that I don't normally use, which resulted in behavior that is not representative of my character. And I would like to apologize to the passengers and the flight crew. If it's something you don't normally use, why would you use it in a situation like that? Of course, then you're using the medical exemption, which makes sense. But Good attorney would probably tell you to do that. So Delta obviously has a zero tolerance policy for unlawful behavior, which will, turn into a situation like this. But these are not the headlines that we like. And this is not the first time this season we have had some weird headlines coming out about former Lions players.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
Well, ESPN had a little bit more to add to it. According to ESPN, the police report says that Charles reportedly appeared drunk when he boarded the plane, argued with the crew about his seat, then urinated on a passenger and hit another passenger before passing out.
So hold on a second here. Here's what I want to know. Did member exit the zipper here? It
doesn't say.
You know what I mean? Did that happen? Did Willie get freed and he was
I think so.
Hosing down some people? I don't get it. Or did it just kind of like he pissed himself and he come on, gosh, dude, what is going on here? But here's the thing. They said he appeared drunk, right? We know this about medications, and I'm not a doctor. Don't take my information. Taking sleeping pills can make you appear drunk. It can make you talk drunk. If you are overly tired, I mean, I know from experience when you're overly tired, if you just stumble and bumble your words at times, that you could appear drunk. So it could have just been whatever he took. He may not have had any alcohol. Who knows? I'm not going to speculate.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. My wife took Ambien, and she would get up in the middle of the night and eat out of a cake that she had made, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was pork. And she'd wake up the next day. What the hell? Why were you eating this cake?
Like sleepwalking?
Yeah. And I'm like, hon, that wasn't me. That was you. She wouldn't remember any of it. She'd sleep eat.
Rick C says he was playing sprinkler. And Brent says, you're right. Ambien can make you nuts. Man, I didn't know Ambien was like that. I've never had to take.
Oh, yeah. They've had people that get in their cars and drive and kill people on Ambien before.
Wow.
So it's serious. So you can seriously do some stuff you're not supposed to do on that.
According to Shane Smith, it was and again, allegedly a 78-year-old lady that he opened up the fire hose on. Wow.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
Why?
Well, Goshter, I hope to, here's to your health, buddy. I hope that you can get some help, whatever help you need. And, you're going to have a lot of apologies because this is not going to sit well in the court of law. I promise you that. They're not going to like this.
Yeah.
And this is not a good look. I mean, Goshter, he never seemed to be this kind of an individual. But, here's another thing, and I'll throw out this, on his behalf. He's a former NFL player, right? He went through hundreds and hundreds of car crashes every single season he was an NFL player. You just never know if he's battling something, that can't be seen, like CTE. And again, I'm not saying that he has that. I'm just saying that stuff exists. And we've seen all sorts of weird stuff go on, right? And you just don't know if that's part of this problem either. So I wish you nothing but luck, Goshter, and being a former Detroit Lion, of course, we try to have your back, but let's make better decisions, right? We don't like these headlines for anybody. It's whether you're a football player or not, doesn't matter. Not good. All right. So NFL power rankings released. Eric, have you taken a look at these yet? Oh, hold on. I got to get you back in. Eric, have you taken a look at the power rankings yet?
Is it the one from ESPN?
Hold on here. I actually got to reopen it.
If it's the ESPN one, I got it up.
Yes. So it's the one that came out last night at 7:15 or yesterday at 7:15.
All right. Let me make sure. Yep. 7:15.
All right. What do we got going on in the chat? Trace, do we have plenty of likes yet? Because we do have to take a quick ad break before we get into ESPN. But it's not a YouTube ad. This is an ad from one of our local sponsors. We'll be right back.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights. Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from uperlights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uperlights with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit uperlights.com for all your UV flashlight needs with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from uperlights.com.
All right, so we're back here, and just one thing, since Cake Man has already kind of helped making me spill the beans here. Memberships got launched last night by YouTube for this channel. So we have launched memberships, and I put together quite a few options for you guys. There's one really expensive option that obviously has a purpose, and that one is obviously to support the Rocked On Cancer Foundation, but you also become a member of the coffee club. So you'll end up getting a coffee box monthly. Now it starts 60 days after your membership, and you'll get a coffee box monthly. There might be a few extra little things thrown in there. Could be some decals from Lions or some stickers or magnets. You know, there might be something in there, right? Extra stuff. It's not just coffee. There could be a coffee mug. Could be anything. Maybe one month you don't get coffee and you get a coffee grinder. Who knows, right? We're going to put together a lot of different packages, and they'll be, you know, a little bit different each time. But then you have your basic, you know, just your basic memberships. And speaking of Cake Man, you're asking about, you know, the chats and things like that. So in the middle tier, what I'm going to start up is like a Voxer chat. So if you are part of the membership, you'll be invited into like a Voxer chat or a Slack chat or something that I still have to put together today. And that way we can all communicate offline. I can't say that I'm going to respond to every single message, but the chat is going to be designed for Lions fans to communicate with each other all the time. You'll have member-driven, you know, chats where when you're in a live stream like today, you get like priority responses. You'll get priority phone call if you want to call in. There's all sorts of things in these memberships, and I'll put out a video, you know, to explain it, kind of go through it more in detail. Wasn't really prepared to do that today. But they are listed if you would like to support the channel a little bit further. It's $3.99 a month for the first tier. I think it's $9.99 a month for the second tier. It's $1 or $2 more expensive than some of the other channels because we're putting a ton more in there. Wow. Trace just subscribed. Look at that. We got one already this morning. She just subscribed to the loyalty crew. Congratulations, Tracy. That is the best crew you can be in without going to the next level, which is the coffee level. And I might try to change some of that. I think you can add up to 5 levels. So if I add another one, it'd be a little bit less expensive. So Tracy, I appreciate you doing that. First one, welcome in. Thank you for becoming a member. So right away, I see that she's got her tags in there. She's got her membership call outs in there. And the longer you stay in, the longer, you know, your membership call outs and shout outs and things start to roll up, and your rewards. So that's the other thing with rewards. The longer you stay a member, every 6 months, you roll into a new tier. And then every 12 months, you roll into a new tier. And then I start to send out random things. So for the first 6 months, it could be, I don't know, a Lions t-shirt. 12 months could be something else. 24 months could be tickets to a game. Just don't know yet. We'll have to see who lasts that long. And let's see if I last that long first, right? So I think we'll be here. Anyway, you guys are awesome. Appreciate all your help this morning, hitting all the likes. Tracy's the first one in. Who's next? Appreciate your support. All right, now let's get to these. Let's get to these power rankings. Kansas City Chiefs. Number 1. Are you surprised? Michael Garrity just joined the Lions faithful. Appreciate you, Michael. Kansas City Chiefs. Eric, are you surprised that they're number 1?
Yes and no, because to be the best, you have to
beat the best.
Beat the best.
Now, Eric Rintamaki just joined the elite club level coffee level. That's awesome, buddy. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, there we go. I was
supporting your own channel. There it is.
Yeah. Hey, if you're not going to support your own, who are you going to support, right?
That's right. Appreciate it, buddy.
Fan through and through. So I wanted to see what it's all about. And so okay. So number one, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, right? The one thing, who's on the hot seat, it says here, Rashee Rice, right?
Yeah. He's not even going to suit up week 1.
No, I think he's going to be suspended for at least 6 games. That's just especially since they're putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, and they haven't said exactly what it's going to be yet. It's coming real soon, and they're going to find out. Given his offseason of legal troubles, it wouldn't be a bad idea for Rice to have a big season. Okay. The Chiefs invested in a big way at wide receiver in the offseason, adding free agent Marquise Brown, who is hurt.
Who's now injured.
Yeah. And drafting Xavier Worthy, who is like 160 pounds, in the first round. But Brown injured his shoulder in the preseason, and Worthy is an untested rookie, making a big season from Rice a necessity. Well, I have a feeling that Rice is going to be on the sidelines for a little bit of the season. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I gotta turn my fan back on. Give me 1 second. Oh, I hate it how it does that.
A little bit of feedback. Oh, so that's cool. It even shows you how many members you got in each tier up on there. Pretty cool.
It's actually really cold here today. I might just open up the windows, man.
Oh, yeah, it's freezing. That's why I got a jacket on. It's only supposed to be 58, I think, today.
Here's what I don't understand. They mention in this power ranking that, Xavier Worthy is pretty much the only guy that they've added to this wide receiver room that's not injured or not going to get suspended yet. So how do you put the guy at how do you put the Chiefs at number 1? Is it just because they're the Super Bowl champs?
It has to be. Because listen, if the Lions were the Super Bowl champs from last year and the Lions were going through this trouble with their wide receiving group, they wouldn't be number 1. They'd be down to 4 or 5.
Yeah. I don't see Kansas City Chiefs being the team to beat other than they were the previous, Super Bowl winners. Look, we just watched the Lions 2s handle that number 1 offense. Now, I'm not saying it would have happened all game long, but then again, Xavier Worthy really hasn't taken a shot yet. Mahomes hasn't hung him out to dry over the middle yet. So we'll see what happens. And Xavier Worthy did get a jump on us. So that touchdown that he had, that big play that he had was, I don't think that it would have happened in a regular game. Number 2, Baltimore Ravens. This one I'm a little surprised at, maybe not as much as I am the Chiefs. But the Baltimore Ravens in at number 2, they're up 3 spots. Who's on the hot seat? Offensive tackle Ronnie Stanley. Stanley enters the most pivotal season of his 9-year career after taking a 50% pay cut this year. I think we have room for you, Stanley, to be honest with you. To remain with the Ravens, he's only making $7.5 million this year. So if Stanley can rebound anywhere close to his 2019 All-Pro form, he could set himself up for another big contract, possibly with Baltimore. If he continues to perform well below expectations, Stanley will enter free agency in 2025 as a major question mark. Quote, I just take every season as if it would be my last, is Stanley's quote from June. I feel like that's why I care so much about how I'm performing or my standard and how I'm helping the team, according to Stanley. Again, this is written by Jameson Hensley. This is his take on the Baltimore Ravens. So what have the Baltimore Ravens really done this offseason? How have they gotten, any better yet? I just don't see.
I think they got worse.
Yeah, I don't see it.
They lost 3 of their starting offensive linemen.
I just don't see it. The one that really surprises me, well, didn't they re-signed Matabuiki, right? Or Matabuiki?
I'm not sure, but I know they lost Zietler, and Zietler came to us, and he's going to be huge. How are they going to replace him with a rookie? I don't know what they're doing there.
Yeah, I don't know either. These power rankings, in my opinion, are just kind of meaningless, and that's why when we do our power rankings this year, those are our power rankings. You know, we take into consideration what other people are saying, but I think that we're going to try to rank these teams a little bit more fairly. Quick shout out into the chat real quick. The Beast moderator, y'all's thoughts on bets. You think he will have a good game versus the Steelers? He has to have a good game.
Yep.
But I think that he's going to play lights out. The Steelers are not looking good at all.
I watched that Steelers game last night. My God, their offense is a mess.
Yeah.
They can't do anything. Listen, Russell Wilson had his tight end wide open in the flat off to the right. It was 3rd and 12. And the guy, because Russell Wilson threw the ball to his back shoulder instead of his front shoulder where he could just catch the ball and run with it, the guy has to turn around and do a circle to catch this ball, right? And just those couple of steps that he had to make, he got 11 yards instead of a first down. And I'm just like, man, he's throwing the ball all over the field, and his throws just were not crisp. They didn't have the right direction to them. He's throwing to the wrong side of the receiver, so he can't catch it in stride. Just the little things, right? And then Fields get in, and Fields couldn't do anything either except for run around like a chicken with his head cut off like he did for the Bears. So it's going to be an interesting game on Saturday.
You know, so that speaks to you can't buy a team, right? And I think that when the Steelers looked at the opportunity with Russell Wilson, they're like, hell yeah, I'll give Russell $1 million to play a season. Who wouldn't? I mean, I think that any team would give him $1 million to play a season. But then you bring in a guy like Justin Fields, who just got cast away by the Bears. He has not shown at any point in time throughout his career that he is a pocket quarterback. He is a true, like, I see him like running a wishbone offense, man. That's just what I see with Justin Fields, the old wishbone. What were you going to say?
Oh, just this Saturday, the Steelers are favored by 3 points over the Detroit Lions. At least it was yesterday when I bet it. Once again, I took the Lions straight up, and it's going to pay over $100. So, woohoo! There you go.
So, question in here by Wayne Rogers. I don't see the join button. If you do want to join, I can show you on my phone here. It should be right next to, if you can see that. It should be right next to the name, you know, the Rocked On.
Yeah, where it says join. So if you get out of the chat and go to the channel, under the description, it says Rocked On Detroit with 5.4 thousand members, and then hit join. And right under join, you can put in your credit card information, or if it's in Google already, it'll already be in there.
Yeah, and we don't see any of your information, by the way. One of the other cool things that we'll be doing in the, I think it's the middle tier, is all 22 review. So I finally got all 22 to work last night. This is not the channel all 22. This is NFL Plus. So we'll be doing an all 22 review each week in the regular season post game. So it usually takes a day or two for all that stuff to really upload. They're a little bit quicker in the regular season. And I'm not sure which night we'll be doing it, but that'll be obviously be a members only stream. So if you're a member in that division or that membership level, you'll be given a link to join that stream, and we're going to go through the game together, the 60-minute condensed version or the highlight version. It'll be at least a 30-minute stream where we're going to go and review and we'll talk about what we see, and be a great conversation. Number 3, San Francisco 49ers. To me, I think that they still belong somewhere in the top 5, but this is a season where they don't even know if they have Brandon Ayuk. And if they don't have Brandon Ayuk, I mean, that is a third of their offense, or at least a quarter of their offense, that they're going to be missing. And they're also saying that they have Deebo Samuel on the hot seat. This doesn't make a bit of sense to me.
No, it should be Ayuk on the hot seat, not Deebo.
Exactly. Deebo's all they have right now.
Yeah.
You know, he's their guy. So what they're saying here is it's not so much about a hot seat as it is Samuel is entering a de facto contract year that isn't technically a contract year. Well, that doesn't make sense.
No,
so Samuel has 1 year left on his deal after this season. So it's not a de facto contract year. He still has 2 years left. But while the Niners are figuring out what to do with Brandon Ayuk and potentially giving him an extension, there might not be room to keep both receivers on big deals beyond 2024. Now, I'm glad that they said that. You know why? Because all the Lions fans continue to think, or a lot of Lions fans think, that we can go out and sign Brandon Ayuk or any other high-priced free agent wide receiver. And you're hearing it right here from someone other than me, Nick Wagner, that says it's not likely that teams can keep 2 expensive receivers on a roster. And that's the truth. It would be very difficult. Now, short term, 1 season, half a season, you pick up the last half of their contract for, a trade at the trade deadline, that could make sense. That could work. But to take on a $15 or $20 million hit for 1 season for a 1 year rental is extremely expensive. But the last 7 or 8 games, that's manageable. That's where I see the Lions potentially making a move if they needed to, is to bring in a wide receiver towards the trade deadline if needed. So regardless, Samuel is probably in line for a new deal after the season. How big of an extension he can get and whether that's in San Francisco or not will hinge heavily on what kind of season he produces. I do believe that the 49ers should still be in the top 5. If Ayuk is not on the team, you can drop him all the way to top 10, in my opinion. All right, what's up next for us? Who's that for?
The Detroit Lions. And who is on the hot seat? Jameson Williams. This upcoming season could likely be a make or break year for Williams. As the number 12 pick of the 2022 draft, Williams has had an abnormal start to his career. Yes, he has. After having a shortened rookie campaign, he overcame an ACL injury suffered in college and a suspension for violating the NFL's gambling policy in year 2. This season gives Williams a chance to show who he is for the first uninterrupted year with the team. Williams could be a huge part of the offense, but he has to step up. And I, in my opinion, truly believe that Jameson Williams is going to be a Pro Bowler this year. This kid is going to get it. He's getting it. When I went to practice, man, every ball that he caught, he had a couple of bad ones that day. He did have an off day of practice when we went to see him. But everything you've seen before and after that day of practice, he's catching everything that's thrown to him. He's scoring touchdowns like mad. When he does, he's celebrating and high-fiving with the guys, and he just looks like he has turned it on. He's flipped the switch. He's figured it out. That's just my 2 cents on J-Mo.
Michael Garrity says he agrees 100% with you, Eric.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
You sure about that, Michael? You sure?
Now we're going to see why Will is blocked by J-Mo on X.
No, but this is exactly why I had you read number 4, because it talks about J-Mo. Yep. So I didn't want to be the guy that was talking about J-Mo, because you know how that goes sometimes. People just think that I'm always Mr. Critical on him. I just see what I see. I mean, I try to be honest about things. Look, Jameson is going to have a breakout season this year. I don't think that there's any doubt about his ability or his speed. I think that there was just questions in the first 2 seasons of, was he putting enough in? And you typically you only get out what you put in, right? And the first season, you had all the rumors and this, there was a couple of statements after games by coaches and throughout the season that Jameson Williams didn't come prepared. He had all that time off to heal, got in the last, 5-6 games of the season, and he didn't know the playbook. And that's kind of a problem. It's a little perplexing that you had all this time to study. You're in there taking mental reps, but you didn't really know the playbook that well. And that's why he was pretty much useless when he was in. He just kind of ran decoy routes. But I will also say it's not to his fault all the way, because he didn't get to take, an opportunity in training camp. And he missed that opportunity with Jared Goff to grow in season 1. So season 1 for Jameson Williams is a complete wash for me. I'm not going to blame him. And I'm not going to give all the blame to the Lions. I think that they're equally responsible because there was, underlying circumstances there. Now, season 2 should have been the year that we saw J-Mo really rise. And then he bets on a game or games and he gets suspended and it was a whole thing. And yeah, he probably shouldn't have got, 6 games. It was, brought down to 4, should have been 2. Yeah, it was his fault that he missed a large part of that season, but also got injured again in training camp. So he missed another opportunity to really grow in that offseason. Shout out Cake Man. He joined the Level 2 loyalty crew. Appreciate you, Cake Man. Thank you for joining. Can't wait to see you guys in the chat when we do these live game breakdowns, man. It's going to be fun. Here's the other thing. Year 3, we've seen nothing but growth and explosion out of Jameson Williams this offseason, right? I mean, it's undeniable. That could have been J-Mo last year.
It was in the second half. Listen, in the playoffs, who scored 2 touchdowns in the NFC Championship game?
Yeah, see, Chef Talks Lions ears are ringing this morning because we talk J-Mo and then he shows up.
Waymo, J-Mo, 2 touchdowns in the NFC Championship game. Let's get him. Come on, Chef.
So that to me was exciting to watch. Like, the Lions came in with a plan in that game, and that was to get Jameson Williams involved early and often because he hasn't been involved the entire season, really. So they threw a wrench into it and said, look, J-Mo, you're going to be the guy. No one's going to expect it. They're expecting us to go to Amon-Ra. They're expecting us to go to the Gibbs, to Montgomery, to Laporta. Not you. So we're going to let you loose on these end arounds, and he just took off with it. So this season, I think that we're going to see more of what we saw in J-Mo the last quarter of last season. I just hope that, he can stay healthy. He does look like and I don't want to say bulked up because he's still skinny looking, but he is like all muscle, man, like 0% body fat. And he's strong. He's a strong kid. Like he can body his way into a catch now and come down with it. We've seen it. We've seen it in training camp. So
yeah. There was an interview with him too early in this preseason where he basically said, you know what? I had some growing up to do. For the first time in my life, I was a millionaire. I got some money, and he basically ignored learning how to be a professional NFL player. He wanted to play video games and, do irresponsible stuff, going to Vegas and playing with fireworks. Listen, the kid's growing up, and he's admitted I needed to grow up. So
there comes Broski saying that just the J-Mo gimmick sneak attack plays in one game doesn't mean he'll be a good wide receiver this season. I need to see it to believe it.
Take the last 4 games of last year. Just take the last 4, multiply that by 4, plus just a little bit for that 17th game. If he can just do that, I'm happy with it. As a number 2, number 3 wide receiver, I'm fine with that production right there.
So here's what we saw in J-Mo. Denver, he had 4 receptions on 7 targets. So he had a couple drops that game. 47 yards, no TDs. Minnesota, 5 receptions on 6 targets. Better game, only 43 yards, 8.6 yards average. But what we saw in both of those games is it wasn't J-Mo just taking the deep routes, the deep crossers. He was catching stuff in the flats, the underneath stuff. He was being used in a way that he's not used to. And I think that was also taking some time, for him to adjust to that, especially when you hear, giant footsteps over the middle. And then in the Dallas game, he kind of exploded a little bit, right? 2 receptions on 3 targets, 69 yards. Again, no TDs. But then you go to the playoffs. This is where he started to show up. LA, he was 2 for 2 for 19. The Bucks, he was 2 for 4 for 35. And then in the NFC Championship game, he was 2 for 3. They're only recording 1 TD receiving, and then he was 1 for 42 on the end around for another TD.
Yep.
So, yeah, if you combine all that together, I would love to see, his bottom line be somewhere around probably 45, 50 yards a game average, as a number 2, number 3, he'll, I don't think he'll be a number 3, but we'll see. But if he was 45, 50 yards average per game, and then you have your occasional breakout game where he's over 100, where maybe Amon-Ra's getting doubled or something crazy, that's a great season for him. 800 yards, 8 touchdowns. That's my floor for Jameson Williams. That's my floor.
You got to remember, there's a lot of mouths to feed on this offense. You have Sam Laporta, you have Gibbs and Monty, you have St. Brown, and and in last place you have Khalif Raymond. Plus you got JMO. That's a lot of mouths to feed with one ball to go around to everybody.
So shout out CakeMan1218. So when you become a member, I try to get to all of your chats in the chat. It says, yes, sir, I love being here in the chat because this community is so caring and passionate. That's the God's honest truth. This is the best Lions community chat there is. I mean, the people here are great. We even have other teams represented here, like Broski Bear. And he says, I'm still tossing up getting the tier 3 benefits. Hey, you get there when you get there. But we're still going to have fun either way. And I got to say it one more time. Broski says he was successful on sneak attack gimmick plays. They only worked because they were a sneak attack. I've got a big announcement for you, Broski. The game of football is about sneak attacks. Yep. That's what it's about. You're supposed to be sneaky.
That's how it works.
You don't want to tell them what you're doing. You just want to go do it. So, in case you didn't know.
Sometimes the refs get it wrong, like Dallas, but yeah.
Yeah, they definitely got it wrong there. Nick P says, JMO going to put up 800 at least. Robert Woods, Juju, and or a trade for a Sutton Cooper, a possibility. So there was some trade rumors that were happening in the past. What's that?
You see that crazy one with Khalif Raymond in it?
Yeah, with Devontae Walker. I mean, come on, he's a rookie. Yeah.
I don't want that. And a 5th round pick and him. No way.
Well, I mean, honestly, I wanted Devontae Walker to make his way onto this team. But Devontae Walker has slid down his own depth chart right now.
Yeah, he's hurt.
I wouldn't balk at the idea, but I think that we're looking for a proven guy. Like, I'm not going to replace Khalif Raymond with an unproven guy.
No, I'll tell you this right now. Dan Campbell trusts Khalif Raymond.
Oh, for sure.
This is his 4th season. He trusts him because he was here from the very beginning and helped build this thing. He's not going to just trade him away plus a 5th round pick for some unproven rookie. It's not going to happen. I don't care who it is.
Yeah, 1,000%. So trade rumors. Let me just try to throw that in here real quick for just a second. I got to find it again.
71 likes so far today.
Good work, people. Good work.
I see a lot of people talking about Robert Woods as the top name to look out for. Is he just a free agent right now? No job?
I don't know about Robert Woods. I mean, he's way past his prime, that's for sure.
But I think people are looking at him because he has a past work record with Jared Goff. Now, granted, it was in a different offense.
Right.
But they're thinking that he would have chemistry with him.
So the one name that was tossed around that I heard offline was David Bell.
Who's David Bell?
Exactly. So David Bell was the 3rd round pick. Cleveland Browns. What? No, I'm sorry. Was he Cleveland Brown 3rd round pick? Let's see here.
Okay, so Robert Woods is on the Houston Texans.
Yeah, so he might be a roster casualty.
Yeah, but if we're going to trade for somebody, let's go over after Mitchie. That kid, he's behind 3 other people now for Houston. So let's go over to that Mitchie kid. Let's take him. I thought he was awesome.
David Bell. Hold on. I don't know why I can't find this. You know what? I think that my ad blocker is giving me trouble. That's why I'm having trouble.
Yeah.
It's because it wasn't opening NFL Network at all, and it's still not allowing it. Yeah, I've got to get that fixed today. So my ad blocker is even blocking me seeing, like certain sites. So anyway, yes, 2022 Combine. So David Bell was a 3rd-round pick, I believe, by the Browns. He's just over 6 foot, like just under 6'1", so he's like 6 foot 7/8 inch. Ran a pretty slow 40 time, which again, I'm not going to put too much weight into the 40 time. He ran like a 4.6. Former Purdue athlete, pretty solid receiver in college, just has not been able to take off with the Browns. Now, what I'm understanding with this is the Browns have had trouble, even with DPJ, getting him the ball because Deshaun Watson was injured and the Browns went to more of a running game the last couple of seasons while nursing Deshaun Watson's, occasional injuries or often occasional injuries. And that's why David Bell is being talked in a conversation now, or talked about in conversation now, as a potential trade option. But I wouldn't be sending more than a 6th, 7th round pick for this guy. Very late pick, 2025, hell, even 2026, conditional even at that he's got to make the roster and stay on the roster for X amount of games, be active in X amount of games, something. But that is a very, low bar entry into a trade to help, add something to your wide receiver room. I don't think it's a fix, but that is one name. Here's another name, Kadarius Toney. The Chiefs is another trade option that is being floated around offline for the Detroit Lions.
He's going to get cut.
Exactly. So if he gets cut, you don't need to trade for him. But maybe not exactly, because right now I think he's listed in the middle tier for the Chiefs depth chart. I think he's like number 4 on the depth chart.
That's only because Rashee Rice is going to be suspended.
Yeah, potentially. He should be. And then where did Marquez Valdez-Scantling go? Did he go to the Bills?
Not sure.
I think he did. Help me out in the chat. Did Scantling go to the Bills? Yeah, I wouldn't, Nick P, I wouldn't care for Toney either. He had a lot of drop issues last year. And we know one thing about Jared Goff. It takes a training camp to really develop your rapport with Jared Goff. In my opinion, I'm not saying that he can't develop rapport, but again, if we're looking at a 4th and a 5th wide receiver that isn't going to get the ball very often, I think it's about building out the depth, the oh shit factor, like Chef says, break glass in case of, right? That's the kind of thing that you're preparing for, is if something were to happen, you're going to have to get up to speed quickly with these guys. I think
he's on the Bills. He's on the Bills and he's injured.
He's on the Bills and he's injured. So I don't know why that they're floating his name around. Well, it is what it is. Hopefully when we get our chat rolling here in the next day or so, give me till today to get it set up. And then what you would have to do is, if you joined as a member, I'm not sure if I get to message you or anything, or if I get any information on the back end through YouTube. But if I don't, just email me, mailbag@rockedon.com. And that way we can start a thread there, and we'll figure out how to get the chat rolling, whether it's through a phone number or an email. I'm not sure yet, but we'll get it rolling. Won't take too long. So a couple of things flying around, right? I'm not going to put any weight into any of this stuff right now. I just don't. I think that Brad Holmes is going to wait until cut day before anything happens.
One thing you're going to find out, I think, as Lions fans, is that Brad and Dan are not desperate people unless they absolutely have to be. So what do I mean by that? They're not just going to run out and grab the first guy that gets cut or the first trade that is thrown in their lap. They play the game. And Brad
they have their short list. They have their short list.
Yep. But Brad Holmes is really, really good about this. And even if they can't get somebody that's on their short list, they don't panic. They stay calm in the face of adversity, just like they want their players to do, and they figure something out in the end. Just remember all the fans clamoring for Sweat and Chase Young at the trade deadline, and they did nothing, right? All we did was picked up DPJ for a 6th or 7th round pick, and everybody was just pissed off about it. Well, it worked out because Chase Young ended up being awful, and Sweat wanted the biggest contract you've ever seen.
Oh, I forgot about Cortland Sutton. Thanks, Nick. Nick brought up, unfortunately, I don't see Cortland Sutton getting moved because of Bo Nix, best rookie quarterback in this draft class. Dude, you're not lying.
No.
Bo Nix is he's playing lights out. Jaden Daniels won the starting role there in Washington, which he's going to be fun to watch, man. Jaden Daniels, I called the best quarterback in this draft, and we'll see where that goes.
It was a bummer at the combine that we didn't get to see Jaden Daniels throw the ball, but we did get to see Bo Nix, Joe Milton, JJ McCarthy, and some of the other guys. And I'll tell you what, Bo Nix, he might not have the biggest arm, but he was putting the ball where it needed to go.
1,000%. So Brent DeWitt says Brad has one eye on the season, one eye on the future. He's always cooking. It's a good statement. Bo Boo says Brad and Dan are deliberate. They're surgeons, not hacks. I call them operators, man. They're like the SEAL Team 7, They're just operating daily, surgically, like you said. They make calculated moves that are intentional, and they just do it right. They hit, man. And when they don't hit, you wouldn't know. You just wouldn't know. Rick C says no thanks to Kadarius Toney. He has dude has hands like feet. I don't think I've heard that analogy before. That's a good one. Oh, man. All right. So Steve K says, are all of the guys you're talking better than and have more experience than DPJ? Kadarius Toney's been around. Obviously, he's won a Super Bowl or two. And I would say his experience is there. I would also say that he has pretty solid speed and intangibles, but yeah, his catch rate has been palpable, but not acceptable. So he shows up when he needs to show up, but then there's times where you might get a drop that can cost you a game. So great job this morning. Tracy says we hit 80 likes, and that's a great job so far this morning. We've got over 100 people in this morning. Cake Man, how do you compare Jerry Jacobs versus Ennis Rakestraw? Man, you can't compare right now. Ennis Rakestraw, man, that could be a whole conversation that I'm really not prepared for. But Ennis Rakestraw, he bodies his guys. He plays aggressive. He stays hip to hip. He mirror matches very well. He reads and reacts just as good as anybody I've seen so far. Even Quin and Mitchell. I watched a little bit of Quin and Mitchell the other day just to kind of see where he's going, where he's developing. He had a good game the other night. And we'll talk about the Eagles. They're up next year, I think, at 6. I don't think you can compare them. The only thing I could say is Ennis is going to have the opportunity to make way more plays than what Jerry Jacobs did probably the last 2 seasons he played with the Detroit Lions. So Michael Garrity says, it is so nice to see the group growing. Yeah, we're growing. It's football time, Michael. So a lot of fans stay away from all this stuff. And now you're starting to get towards the last preseason game. And we just beat the Chiefs. Now the fans start to show up. All the faithful start to show up. You'll see these chats, why it's going to be so important to become a member of this channel. There's going to be 500 people in here all the time. And if there's not, I'd be surprised. But last year, it was nuts. And I couldn't keep up. There's another one. Lions faithful speaking. Wayne Rogers just joined the membership for Rocked On Detroit Lions. Appreciate you. Memberships are now open if you guys have just joined. There's 3 different tiers there, and all 3 tiers have been covered today. So you've got the coffee tier, you've got the all 22 Lions game recap tier, you've got just your basic tier. There's all sorts of goodies in there for you guys to check out in the memberships. Let's keep rolling here. Next up, we've got Power Rank number 5, Philadelphia Eagles. You agree or disagree?
I don't know what to think about these guys because it says right here, who's on the hot seat? Coach Nick Sirianni. And why is he on the hot seat? Because he can't get along with Jalen Hurts. And I think this team is a little dysfunctional. Truly, I would put them more like towards number 10 than I would number 5, but that's just my personal opinion. And that's only not because of talent. That's because of dysfunction. Okay?
Yeah, I guess if you have a big issue with your coach, obviously that can spill over in many different ways into the rest of the team, right?
Yeah. And if it's with one player, it's going to be with a whole bunch of them. It's not going to be just one player. So this says Sirianni has a 34-17 regular season record and has taken Philadelphia to the playoffs each of the past 3 seasons. But he was at the helm for last season's 1-6 collapse that resulted in both of his offensive and defensive coordinators being fired, effectively taking the safety netting out from under him. Sirianni was unable to get on the same page with cornerback Jalen Hurts last season and since handed off many of the offensive responsibilities to Kellen Moore. Given the talent on this roster and the soaring expectations in the city, it will take a deep playoff run to steady the ground under Sirianni. So these guys, they were what? 10 or 11 wins. They were number 1 power ranked in every power ranking. They were doing awesome. And then they went 1-6. They just imploded at the end of the season. They backed into the playoffs. They played Tampa Bay at home in the playoffs, and Tampa Bay steamrolled them. And I think any team that was in the playoffs would have steamrolled them. I think they just gave up on their coach. And when you lose both your offensive and defensive coordinator, I don't see how you can be in the top 5.
Shout out to DLR Van Halen, another Lions Faithful membership. Welcome. Appreciate all the members this morning. You guys are awesome. So here's my take on the Eagles, man. And shout out to whoever said this in the chat. They're going to be missing Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce, I believe, took position with the Eagles in some sort of a coaching assistant fashion. Really? I think it was an assistant maybe to either the ownership. I can't remember now, so don't quote me because I think I'm off on that. But I know that he was at least offered a position, whether it was with management or other. As far as the Eagles, here's what I've noticed. Cornerback Quin Mitchell looked very solid second straight week. The linebacking core appeared ready to do battle in a regular season game. Tanner McKee made his case for QB2 this past weekend ahead of Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett, that was a travesty of a choice by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like we knew, I'm sorry, you can't have small hands to be a quarterback. Like you've got to have a minimum threshold. I believe personally of 9-inch hands. He just doesn't have it. The Eagles are going to be solid, but I think to your point, Eric, that there's a little bit too much dysfunction here. I think that Sirianni is treading water. If the Eagles don't go the distance this year, Sirianni's going to be fired. And I feel like he's probably put himself into a position now, like this says, he has no safety net. You fire your offensive defensive coordinators, and now you are the lone wolf. And let's just be honest here, there's a pack that's coming for him, and they're expecting him to perform. And I feel like he's probably going to try to do too much, and that could force more, issues between him and Jalen Hurts. So I would put the Eagles more towards top 10 too. I agree with that. I do not have them in my top 5. Who I would have in my top 5 though is who's at number 6. And that would be the Houston Texans. They're at number 6. So who's on the hot seat? Stephon Diggs. Well, he just joined the team. How is he on the hot seat? Diggs is on a 1-year deal. And if the offense is booming with him, he could be re-signed and cash in. If not, the two sides could part ways. But throughout camp, the Texans coaching staff and players have raved about him. Coach D'Amico Ryans praised Diggs' leadership and competitiveness, saying that he has brought the best out of his teammates, which I mean, that's an incredible transformation coming from the Bills, where he was considered to be a locker room hazard. But now quarterback C.J. Stroud said that Diggs is somebody who loves the game and doesn't cheat it. So good takes by C.J. Stroud, and this is just another high-profile weapon for the former Buckeye. I mean, C.J. Stroud is surrounded by nothing but talent on both sides of the ball. The Houston Texans defense should be a top 5 defense in this league. I put the Houston Texans in the top 5. Matter of fact, I would put them ahead of the San Francisco 49ers, but I wouldn't put them ahead of the Detroit Lions just yet. So I would put the Houston Texans probably at 4, and I would put the Lions at 3, and I would drop the San Francisco 49ers back to probably 5, and then the Eagles down to like 10.
Yep.
Any comments from you?
Yeah, I'll say this about Diggs. So they're raving about him, and even quarterback C.J. Stroud saying that he's somebody who loves the game and doesn't cheat it. Well, here's what I'm going to say about Stephon Diggs. He was great for the Vikings. He was great for the Bills. He's probably going to be great for the Houston Texans. But what's going to happen is he's going to have a game where it's going to be the other receivers, and he's only going to get one look, or he's only going to get maybe 1 or 2 balls thrown his way. And that's when the real Stephon Diggs is going to come out. And that's what happened with the Bills. He was a me, throw me the damn ball kind of guy. And listen, when you get into that new relationship, you're all perfect and happy, and then the real you comes out. That's what's going to happen with Stephon Diggs.
I can see that happening where, maybe he's not getting as much attention as he thinks that he should get. And when you are in a crowded room, sometimes tempers can flare when you are a certain attitude in that room, right? If you feel like you are the best receiver and you've got the most experience and, you should be the one getting the ball more often than not, but it doesn't happen that way, and you can't be a team player like the Detroit Lions, I don't think any of these guys really care about getting the ball. I really don't. I think that they want that ball to go to the person that's going to make the most happen with it at that moment and that play and that time of the game. That's the difference about building a culture, building a team, right? And then continuing to follow that same process year after year, only bringing guys in that support that. And if you continue to fill it with supporters of your vision, it continues to grow and it continues to evolve. And you don't get too far left. You don't get too far right. You just stay even killed right down the middle and you go win ball games. And that's what we're seeing with the Detroit Lions right now. Other teams, sorry, broski, like the Chicago Bears, look, they bought their team. Sometimes you're going to have dysfunction just because you got too many eyes, too many Chiefs, not enough Indians, so to speak. I hate that analogy. I just don't know of another one right now. But anyway, I think that you could see a little bit of dysfunction with the Texans if Diggs becomes Diggs. So I wanted to try to pull up my
Diggs
memberships
became
here.
Diggs in Minnesota. Diggs became Diggs for the Bills. So what makes you think it's going to be any different for the Texans?
Right. Absolutely. Where are my membership levels here? So I got to add a video. I got to do that later today, but it's supposed to tell me what I wrote in these levels. All right, hold on. I got a phone call. Run away with it, Eric. Go to number the next one down.
All right, here we go. So the Buffalo Bills, just who we were just talking about. Who's on the hot seat? Coach Sean McDermott. This isn't about job security. Instead, it's the challenge McDermott has on his hands in a different way this season. After winning the division the past 4 seasons, the Bills transitioned this offseason, reshaping a variety of areas. McDermott is entering 2024 with 2 new full-time coordinators and many young players, while also dealing with quarterback Josh Allen being in the 7th year of his career and having only one AFC championship game appearance to speak for it. On top of that, injuries are always in the mix on defense, notably with linebacker Matt Milano, who is now out for the season. But the coach has found success despite injuries in the past. The balance for the Bills of having success while also building for the future years with Allen and guiding a changed roster is a unique challenge.
Okay, so we're talking about number 7, right? Is that right? The Buffalo Bills?
Yep, the Buffalo Bills.
You know, I see that they could have a potentially surprising season. Or potential surprising season. Shout out to Michael P. Just joined the membership. He is a Lions faithful member. Mike, appreciate you. You're a day oneer, man. You've been around. I'm so happy that people like you have found this channel and have been part of the live streams, just like the rest of you guys. You guys are all awesome. Whether you join or you don't join, you are always going to be the best sponsors and supporters of Rock Down Detroit Lions, Rock Down Podcast Network. So far this morning, we'll give you a quick update. We already have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like we have 9 members already this morning.
Right on.
So good work. That's awesome work by you guys. I don't know why it doesn't show me what I actually wrote in my memberships right now. I don't know why. But thankfully I saved it in another sheet. I'll have to go back and look at it later. I wanted to go over it again with you guys, but I can't remember everything that I wrote last night. It was late. All right, so number 7 with the Buffalo Bills. Look, this like this statement said, this isn't about job security. Instead, it's the challenge that McDermott has on his hands in a different way this season. They've won the division consistently. They just can't take the next step. So did the Buffalo Bills do enough this offseason to take the next step? I think that's going to be the biggest question that's going to get answered. Allen has a heck of an arm. He's a hell of a quarterback. For whatever reason, they just have not been able to get over the hump, and they lost a lot on that defense this year. A lot. I was really hoping to see, AJ Epinesa make his way to Detroit, and he would have been, in my opinion, a perfect candidate on the other side of Aidan Hutchinson. Didn't happen. He was a cap casualty, and then he was brought back kind of in the waning moments of free agency. And had it gone any longer, who knows? Maybe AJ Epinesa could have been that guy for the Lions for the next few seasons. But it didn't work out. But I still believe that the Bills, they've got a lot to get back this year. They lost a lot. It's going to be a tough season for them. I would put the Bills in the top 10. I don't know about 7, but I would put them in the top 10 for sure. Next up, Miami Dolphins. So they have slid down 7 spots. I can't even imagine that they were even sniffing, 1 or 2. On the hot seat, according to ESPN, is offensive lineman Liam Eichenberg. The highly touted second-round pick in 2021 has started 38 games in just 3 NFL seasons. But they've been marred by injuries and inconsistent play, which might not be completely his fault. His versatility is arguably his greatest strength, with him having played every position on the offensive line since entering the league. But the constant shuffling makes it difficult to excel at any one position. That is a very true statement. Eichenberg is entering the final year of his rookie contract in 2024. His versatility would be tough to let go. But if he's not a lock to return in 2025, I guess I wouldn't be surprised. This is a guy that I'm going to look into now because I want to see what he looks like in the game. The fact that he's played all of the positions across the offensive line, that sounds like a what, Eric?
Versatility player.
Yeah, it sounds like a Dan Campbell kind of guy.
Yeah.
Sounds like someone that we might want to add to this roster for offensive line depth next year. Brent Lighton says AJ Epinesa is no better than Kaminsky. I think they are the same player. The thing about AJ is he has not been given a full opportunity to show what he can do, and I think he's going to get that this year. He was a rotational player. He was playing about 50% of the snaps. So he was, and what he did with those amount of snaps, I think that he did just fine. I think he had 6 sacks last year. Being a rotational player, that's pretty solid. I would love to have 6 sacks on the opposite side of Aidan Hutchinson, from one guy, and then, a bunch more from the rest of the committee. But AJ Epinesa, I think, is going to have a pretty good season this year. He's finally going to be able to show what he can do. Tracy was doing an excellent job this morning, or Trace, sorry, says, let's get this last 5 likes to hit 100. Let's get it. She's challenging you guys, so let's get it. And we're going to come right back after a little news from one of our other sponsors. Is here and you want the latest news and rumors on your Detroit Lions. Head to sportspider.com. That's sports, SPYDER.com, where you can get your Lions news and all your sports in one place. Man, this site is packed with your favorite podcasts, live news, articles from local writers, and insiders, all updating in real time. Not just the Lions, every major sports team, including MMA, UFC, and so much more. Don't want to waste time searching? Sign up for free. Create your ultimate sports news hub. You control what hits your feed at SportsSpider, your number one source for all your sports. Visit sportspider.com today, right after the show. All right. Appreciate SportSpider, man. What an excellent tool to get all of your news in one place. Man, it's already 9:30. We are flying today. Number 9. We're going to have to continue this tomorrow. Yeah. Number 9, Cincinnati Bengals. All right, let me go back to Miami. So Miami look top 10 only because of the talent they have. Tua, I did not expect for him to play as well as he did last year. So I think that he's going to continue along, the same path this year. I think that Miami's going to be in the hunt, but I think there's going to be a couple of teams that go from, worst to first this year that are going to make it difficult for some of these conferences, to just have the same old representing them. All right, here we go. Number 9, Cincinnati Bengals. This is a surprise team for me, the fact that they're at number 9. And the reason why I say that is because we just haven't seen anything from Joe Burrow. We've seen plenty of injury. They lost DJ Reader. It's a team, in my opinion, that has more questions than answers. And they just got the snot kicked out of them by the Bears. And, I want to know, when Broski makes these statements that says, the Lions, this is preseason, you can't judge everything by preseason and whatever else he says, right? Well, I guess the same can be said for the Chicago Bears. What we've seen out of Caleb Williams or Rome Odunze or anybody else, Keenan Allen, doesn't matter who's played. It's preseason. So wait until we see what happens in the regular season before we really pass any sort of evaluation, off on these teams or these players. But this was a fairly uneventful weekend for Caleb Williams against the Bengals. What did he do? He hit Rome Odunze on the run for a 45-yard gain. I'd have to say that was a pretty incredible pass. But I don't know that those kinds of things are going to happen in the regular season when you're up against number ones. It's kind of looking like they're running around playing backyard football at times, but it was a heck of a pass. I got to give Caleb that. What else does this statement say here? So the Bears kind of leaned on the effort of 2 big-time throws on that series from Caleb Williams, and that was about it for the game for him. And they had a pretty stout defense, obviously, that game. I mean, the Bears played great defensively. And Tyson Bagent, he really steamrolled the Bengals in week 2. It was kind of Bagent's day. Bagent has been a hell of a backup. My question is, where was Bagent when the Lions were looking? Because that would have been a phenomenal opportunity for them. Last year we had Teddy B, which was a perfect option for us. But even bringing someone, in like that this season, I would have loved to have seen the talent of Bagent on this team. But what the NFL Power Rankings say about the Bengals, hot seat, Alex Kappa, another offensive lineman. Kappa was the first addition to boost this team's offensive line after the Bengals lost their Super Bowl. But this is quietly a big year for him. Next year will be the last of his contract, and he will represent $8 million in cap savings should he be released. And last year, according to ESPN Stats and Information, Kappa was 60th out of 62 players in pass block win rate. That's not great. That's not great at all. My biggest concern for the Bengals is Joe Burrow. Do you think that he's going to be able to bounce back this year, Eric?
I don't know. He gets injured a lot, but the thing that worries me the most about the Cincinnati Bengals is their 2 top wide receivers. They both want contracts.
Yeah.
Chase has not been to a single practice, and Higgins is doing the Ayuk thing where he's practicing, but he's holding out. And
Holding in.
Yeah, holding in, whatever they want to call it. So how does that help your team? You know, that'd be the thing I would be worried about the most, not some offensive lineman. I would be worried about these 2 wide receivers basically holding out and holding the team hostage.
Well, I mean, a healthy Burrow really won't be the only change for this team. And shout out to Ryan Van Valkenburg, who just joined the Lions Faithful membership. Ryan, appreciate you so much, man. Appreciate everyone joining this morning. We've had a flurry of members join, so it's absolutely incredible. Appreciate it big time. So a healthy Burrow, like I said, he won't be the only change. And to Ryan's statement, he bleached his brain. I just saw that picture a little bit ago. I had no idea that he went bleach white, for his hair, chopped his hair off. But you know what? Maybe it's time to grow up a little bit, change the hairstyle. No more, the long curlies. Running back Joe Mixon was their leading rusher for each of the past 7 seasons. He was traded to the Texans. And so now the Bengals are going to turn over, that role to Zach Moss, who rushed for 794 yards and 5 touchdowns with the Colts last season. And then, like you just said, you got star receivers, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. They're back, but they're also absent. They're absent because they're looking for new contracts. Look, receiver depth is really thin. Tyler Boyd signed in free agency with the Titans too. So this team is somewhat depleted. They've also swapped out right tackles with Trent Brown replacing Jonah Williams and signed tight end Mike Gesicki. But I don't think it's enough. And I definitely don't think it's enough to put them in the top 10. I'm going to comfortably put the Bengals down at number 15. That's where I would put them. I would put them in the top half of the league because they still have enough, but is it enough? You can't discount Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. When they're clicking, it's a beautiful thing to watch. But right now, you have more dysfunction in this league than you have function, in my opinion. Number 10, your favorite team. Go for it.
Do you think that, Jamar Chase missing the entire preseason holding out, don't you think that'll have a cumulative effect on the season?
I mean, it could, but they have history, right? I mean, they have history. So I'm not so much worried about their ability when they play together. It's more so, I guess, to your point, is there going to be animosity? Is there going to be dysfunction in the locker room? Is there going to be, I hate to use the C word, so I'm not going to, but the dysfunction in the locker room could be real. One little thing can really twist and turn a locker room upside down.
Mm-hmm. All right. The Green Bay Packers at number 10. They're not going to stay there. They're going to be like 25 or 26 by the end of the season. You watch. All right. So who's on the hot seat? Kicker, Anders Carlson. Ha! Imagine that. Carlson is in a battle with veteran Greg Joseph, who has been slightly better in training camp. Carlson faltered down the stretch last season, culminating with that missed 41-yard field goal late in the playoffs to the 49ers. He missed more kicks than anyone else in the league last season. The Packers probably should have brought in someone else before it got to that point. It's hard to imagine they would have as much patience this time around. Well, if you watched their preseason game the other day against Denver, their kickers were atrocious. They're missing everything again, and they are in kicker hell. They really were trying to get Jake Bates. They didn't get him. We gave him a longer, bigger contract. Suck it, Packers. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Hey, quick shout out to the chat here. So it looks like there's a few issues with finding the join button for memberships. The only thing that I can tell you is if you're in the live chat, you won't see it. You have to get out of the live chat and go to the actual channel, like where it says view channel, like tap on the Rock On Detroit Lions or, whatever the handle is, and go to the main page, and it should be there. But I don't know the difference between like a Galaxy or a Samsung phone and iOS phone. I don't know if there's any differences with how they look. The app has had issues. YouTube app, like, it has not been working great for me for a long time. I can't even play my own videos that were live. I have to play it next in queue to be able to watch it. It's ridiculous. And I've tried unloading it, reloading it, clearing the cache, you name it. It just doesn't change. But that's a good way to search. Just try to go to the main page. As far as priority chat. So, both, Eric and I will make sure that we get your, if you're lit up in green, if you are, you have your little blue star and you're a member, we will try to get to all those chats that are mostly relevant towards what the topics are, right? We'll try to get to all of them. Priority means that we get to yours first, and then non-members will get to them, but we will equally share an opportunity with everybody. We want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity. Michael Garrity wanted to give us an update that the Reader had a scope cleanup surgery in June. The status for the season opener is uncertain. 4-game IR mentioned, which means that'll be another rocked on prediction if that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Back week 6.
We need to get a super cool sound effect for when we hit 100 likes, because we hit 100 likes this morning. Way to go, guys.
Oh, good job, people. Yeah, I'll get some stuff lined up today. I don't even know what I have right now on the Roadcaster because I thought I burned it out the other day, but I know we got this.
Yeah, there we go.
And then, of course, we have this one, too. Hold on. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? I need to switch it on the bank. It won't switch.
Mine's got a whole bunch of them. I never played around with it yet, though.
I'll fix it later. I'll fix it tonight. That'll be my homework for today.
There we go.
All right. So appreciate you guys. 100 likes is big for us. That helps this channel grow. So Packers, look, can they bounce back from what they did the last 8 seasons? Do they belong in the top 10? I am very surprised that ESPN didn't put them in the top 5 ahead of the Lions.
Yeah,
very surprised
for some reason.
Very, very, very surprised. Production and rhythm is a big thing. And when Jordan Love had rhythm the last 8 games of last season, he had production. They often go hand in hand, right? And in my opinion, it's something that once it starts again in Green Bay, they have enough talent to be good this season and potentially great. The defense, in my opinion, is where I think that they're going to have the most questions. Can they stick with the high-powered offenses that they're going to see like the Detroit Lions? They're going to learn a lot from reviewing the game film from last year. Players and coaches alike. I mean, there's going to be a lot of teachable moments for the Packers, just like there will be for the Lions. I just don't see the Lions making the same mistake twice. I think that they pride themselves on that. And they're going to look at the game from Thanksgiving and they're going to say, what did we do wrong? And how do we not allow that to happen again? You can't allow, was it Frank Clark? Is that his name? Frank Clark? I can't remember right now.
Yeah.
Defensive tackle. You can't allow him to get after you like that. You just can't. You can't allow him to thrash your offensive line and have his way with the Lions offense. Those types of things, you're going to have to learn to put 2 bodies on the guy, or a body and a chip, but you can't let him get loose.
Yeah, it's Kenny Clark.
Kenny Clark. Sorry, not Frank Clark.
Yeah.
Solid debut already this season. Tyron Hopper played well. Christian Welch, okay. Kobe Wooden, good presence up front on the defense. Malik Heath even produced in the passing game. Daniel Whalen continued to, his strong summer punting the ball. He's been a pretty good punter for the Packers. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Packers. I will say this. I think that they belong kind of where they are, but maybe top 12. Top 12.
Push them down.
I mean, you can put them wherever you want. I'm going to put them in the top 12 right now.
25.
Just because.
I hope we beat them with a Jake Bates 69-yard field goal with 2 seconds left. I really do.
That'd be great, man. Nick P says, nobody really had much film on Jordan Love and those wide receivers last year. Now, teams will be able to study the Packers. And that's such a phenomenal point, Nick, because the same can be said about the Lions now. You know, our players, I will say this, Gibbs did not put everything out there that he can do. And I'm kind of excited that he didn't. Jameson Williams didn't put everything out there that he can do. So I still think we have a couple of aces in the hole, if you will, that there is so much more that this offense has not done yet. Like, we're going to unlock new achievement after new achievement, in my opinion. Each week is going to be a different story being written. And I think each week we're going to have a different cast of characters that are helping this team win. And I think that's what makes us so fun and so unique in the league, that you just, any game, you know, it could start going south one direction, and then they could say, oh, look, we've got these guys over here. We're just going to start using these guys. That's what makes the Lions so different. We are so broad in our ability, whether it's the offensive line, now the defensive line depth, or wide receivers. Yeah, we might have an issue with depth there, but our, 2-3 guys up front that are leading the charge, they're going to be pretty solid. And last year we won with just Amon-Ra St. Brown pulling the majority of the weight, and Sam Laporta picking up the rest of the weight. I still think that we really need that number 3. Who is that number 3 guy that is going to help pull some of the, focus away from Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta? We really haven't spent any time talking about David Montgomery this season. Maybe we'll highlight him tomorrow. But I think that he's going to have a very impactful role again. Whether it's pounding the ball like a little bowling ball, that he is, or maybe we'll see him get a little bit more activity in the passing game. I know he's not a big pass catcher out of the backfield, but he can do it. So it'd be interesting to see where the Lions go there. J-Mo, there you go. Dallas Cowboys, number 11.
All right, let's pull this back up. All right, the Dallas Cowboys, they are coming in at a number 11. Who's on the hot seat? The team owner, Jerry Jones. The easy answer is Coach Mike McCarthy. Maybe quarterback Dak Prescott, too. Nothing that happens this year will impact Jones' status as the owner and general manager, but he has a lot on the line with how he constructed this year's team. Prescott is months from being a free agent. McCarthy, who has won 36 games in the past 3 seasons, and his coaching staff are on 1-year deals. If the Cowboys falter, Jones will likely be starting all over. 29 years removed from the Cowboys' last Super Bowl appearance. While the Cowboys said their season ticket renewal was at more than 99%, according to Jones, the size of the crowds at training camp have been smaller and smaller and smaller, and anger with the organization seems to be higher than ever. A season that ends without a playoff appearance, at minimum, will ratchet up the heat on Jones. And you have CeeDee Lamb, who is holding out. You have Micah Parsons, who wants a new contract. You have Dak Prescott that wants a new contract. The Cowboys are going to be in shambles this year. That's my 2 cents on it. I just don't see how they're going to function without all of these players. And they're going to want contracts before they start playing.
The Cowboys, so there was a great statement that came out the other day about Jerry Jones. And I didn't hear everything you just read. I was trying to respond to a couple of things, but the dude is been linked to consistently playing poker with his contracts.
Well,
and he's losing, right? So he didn't get Dak done last year, and now that contract's going to cost him north of 60, probably 60 million, or north of 60 million a year. But then you have guys like CeeDee Lamb. Should have got him done last year. Should have got him done at the beginning of this year. As soon as the offseason hit and you're able, to do whatever you want with the guy under contract. So he's playing with fire. His entire team is going to turn against him because he's not going to have anybody that's willing to go out there and play.
Yeah. Didn't Jerry Jones say we're all in this year?
Right.
Where's the all in? He hasn't signed anybody. No one.
Yeah. I don't know what he's waiting for, but the Cowboys obviously hope to repeat as NFC East champions. It really hinges on their big three: Prescott, Lamb, Micah Parsons.
Yep.
And replicating that production in 2023 is not going to come easy. They're going to have to get it done with less, in the words of Jerry Jones, and I believe that. I don't think that Jerry Jones wants to pay Prescott. I think that Prescott is probably on his way out. And this is kind of the last season, the last hurrah, if you will, with Prescott to see if they can do anything with it. Look, Prescott has been good at times, but you know what he reminds me of? Tony Romo.
Yep.
A guy that can get you there, but can't get you there. Just like the 49ers. They can get there, but they can't get there. They can't finish.
And what do they have at running back? Ezekiel Elliott is their starting running back.
I mean, he's not terrible, but again, it's someone that is aged in the league. It's not like it's not like he's dynamic like he used to be. But you're talking about, guys on this team that have led this team, have helped this team win, that are not going to be under contract, or they don't have any, good feelings going into the season because Prescott's not going to have a contract. CeeDee Lamb's going to play more than likely. He'll play. I mean, he's under contract, but he wants a bigger contract. So is he willing to go out there and risk it for the biscuit? I doubt it.
I think he is.
I know. I'm saying I don't think he's going to risk it. I don't think he's going to risk, a pass that's maybe a little far left. He's not going to dive for it.
Yeah. And I don't think he's going to play. I think he's going to hold out into the season. So I made a very, very bold move for my fantasy football league because I'm in a dynasty league. I traded away CeeDee Lamb.
Oh,
I can't trust it.
Well, I would have probably put him on a bench.
I got Gibbs in return.
Oh, then yeah, I would have done that all day.
Yep.
But CD can have crazy yards. I mean, you've seen it against the Lions. Ryan Van Valkenburg says he heard a rumor that Jerry likes Shedeur Sanders. Well, you know what? That almost makes too good a sense because, the Sanders connection to the Cowboys. That almost makes too good a sense. And I think that Shedeur would do just fine in Dallas.
He'll end up having Dion as his head coach. You watch.
That would be nuts. But hey, I wouldn't be mad at it. I think Dion is doing amazing things. Yeah. And super proud of what he's been able to accomplish, man.
Man, he made Colorado football fun to watch.
So, yesterday or last night, I was talking about average throw time for quarterbacks and why it doesn't matter if you have the most expensive ends on your team, that if they're not getting to the quarterback in under 3 seconds, it doesn't matter because you're not going to get the sack when quarterbacks like Dak Prescott, who, by the way, has the 10th fastest time in the NFL last season. Take a guess at how fast he gets the ball out. 10th fastest.
3.1.
2.85 seconds.
Yeah, see?
So if you can't get to the quarterback in 3 seconds or less, you're not going to get a sack in this league. And with that, what does that mean you need? You needed DBs. If those DBs make that quarterback hold the ball another half a second, you now have an opportunity to sack the quarterback. If you can get enough pressure up the middle and force that quarterback to move left or right towards your ends, now you have an opportunity to get a sack. So that's why, I don't know if, those of you that were in last night, that was the biggest reason why I wanted to do this pass rush by committee, live event with Tony, was to, one, get his amazing takes that he has, which a lot of fans were not happy with last night. But that's why I brought him on, because he represents a lot of what some fans are thinking. And even some other content creators are thinking that, we can't win without, another edge. We can't win without someone opposite of Hutch. And it's just not the case. Like, you guys are going to see, I'm wrong at times, right? We all are. I don't think I'm wrong on this one. I really don't. I've seen it time and time again where an interior pass rush wins, and defensive backs that can help the pass rush will make this defense a top 10 defense this season.
One of my favorite things in life is proving Tony Bonifero wrong about the Lions. I get such satisfaction when I'm right and he's wrong about my Lions, and they pull out the wind.
Yeah, so Brett DeWitt says agreed, Will. I wonder how many sacks we would have had last year if our guys just had that half or 1 second more. And you know that all comes down to good coverage. You know, we don't need broken plays. We just need good, sticky coverage. So far, what we've seen this preseason is our DBs are sticking a hell of a lot closer to the receivers. And unless we have a broken, boneheaded play, like the Xavier Worthy deal, like he jumped, but, that was one play that now we have good tape on to go back and show, hey, look, you can't turn your back and run the other direction. You got to stick with Worthy. So that was a miscommunication. He turned his back and went the other direction. Worthy just kept going. He thought someone was behind him. There was nobody behind him or even close covering over top, and that was probably a safety communication breakdown. But that's what you're going to see in the NFL. Look, if you can't get to the quarterback in 3 seconds, does not matter who you have on the edges, because the ball's coming out that quick. Where are we at time-wise? 9:51. All right, we got a few minutes left here. Let's try to get the top 15 in. So Cleveland Browns at number 12. Who's on the hot seat? Left tackle Jedrick Willis Jr. Willis started all 53 games for the Browns since being selected with the 10th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. He's entering a contract year, returning from a torn MCL. Obviously limited his play to 8 games last season. He does remain on the PUP currently. There's no timeline for his return. He needs to show not only that he is healthy, but he has the long-term answer as a blindside protector. I have zero faith in the Browns. I love their defense. I have zero faith in Deshaun Watson, but I will say this. If Deshaun Watson can put it together this year, the Browns could be one of the more exciting teams to watch. Their defense has been incredible. Myles Garrett is clearly the best edge defender or edge pass rusher in the league, and he is somebody that can get to the quarterback fairly quickly. Not a whole lot of guys can get to the quarterback in under 3 seconds. I think the fastest sack last year was from Bosa, and he was like not blocked. And it might have been against Dak. It might have been against the Cowboys. I can't remember now, but I think Bosa had the fastest sack last year, and it was right around 2 seconds. No. So it doesn't happen often. Cleveland Browns at number 12. Nope. I'm going to put them down at number 16. Let's move on to the Rams.
All right. The Rams. Who's on the hot seat at number 13? Tutu Atwell, wide receiver. Atwell, a 2021 second-round pick, is entering the final season of his rookie deal in a crowded Rams wide receiver room. Atwell had 39 catches for 483 yards and 3 touchdowns last season, but lost his role as the Rams' number 3 receiver to Demarcus Robinson midway through the year. Now, along with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, the Rams also have 6th-round pick Jordan Whittington, who impressed in his preseason debut. Atwell will still be a part of this offense and might be valuable on special teams in 2024 with the new kickoff rules, but he would need to be a standout this season to sign another deal in Los Angeles. Man, doesn't that sound like the perfect trade candidate for the Lions? I wouldn't mind that guy.
Tutu?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tutu's a little bit short, though. I still think that we're looking for
a bigger guy. Okay.
A bigger guy. You know what I mean? I think that's what we really need. Now, you could win with a bunch of slot guys, a bunch of shorter, shiftier, speedier guys. You can absolutely win with that. I just feel like the Lions are really wanting to find a guy that, can meet their needs. How tall is he? Yeah, he's 5'9".
Okay. That's not big enough.
He's another like Khalif Raymond. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But
I thought he was a bigger guy.
Hell of a ball player. Now, the Rams have struck gold again this year. Last year, they found Puka Nacua. This year, they find, Jordan Whittington?
Yep.
Man, he's been extremely fun to watch. And Stafford, I don't think Stafford's played in a preseason game yet because he's a little banged up. He's battling a hamstring injury. So these guys haven't even played really with Stafford yet. and the damage that they're already inflicting upon teams has been really fun to watch. But again, it's preseason. I know it's preseason. We'll see where it goes. But having the Los Angeles Rams at 13, this is a team that got really good defensively in the offseason. And the reason why I say that, yep, they lost Aaron Donald. Huge loss. But if you look at who they brought in, hold on a sec. They brought in Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, right? They brought in both of them, I believe.
Yeah.
Let me look it back up. Rams draft. I can't remember who else they grabbed. So yeah, they grabbed Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, 1 and 2. Oh, then they bring in Blake Corum, who might be the hardest running back in the draft, the hardest running back in the draft. They brought in a safety, Cameron Kitchens, who's pretty darn good. And then they brought in another edge, Brennan Jackson out of Washington State, solid player. And then they brought in one of the best kickers out of the draft, Joshua Carty, which I really thought the Lions were going to do something like that, but they didn't. And then they brought in Jordan Whittington, who is Puka Nacua number 2, from what we're hearing.
Oh,
the Rams just got really good. If you guys haven't watched any highlights of Braden Fisk and Jared Verse this preseason so far, especially Jared Verse, there's a reason why Jared Verse was my number 1 selection for an edge rusher this year. This dude is the real deal. And he's going to light it up in short order. But then you look at who they brought in last year. The other call out that I had, who was going to be a late round gem at one of the better defensive tackles, Kobe Turner. Dude is phenomenal. The Rams have definitely struck gold here. These are some of the players that I felt like the Lions needed to bring in, but I'm a believer in the Holmes direction. So maybe next year, the edge position is still going to be a deep draft. We know wide receiver is going to be a little deep. We'll see where that goes. Rams at 13. I got the Rams in the top 10. Jacksonville Jaguars, 14. Do they belong? Yes or no? Quick answer.
No.
All right, we're going to skip the Jags. I think that we know who they are, which is nobody. Trevor Lawrence, way overpaid. This is a prove-it year for him to see that big contract. See what it does. New York Jets, I want to finish with them. Do the Jets have what it takes to win in 2024? I think that there's a ton of hype surrounded around this team. They're at number 15 for a reason. I'm surprised that they're not up a little bit further, but Aaron Rodgers has already looked good in this offseason. Immediately when he came back after his little hiatus to Egypt or wherever he went, there was some issues between him and some of his players, and I think a lot of that has subsided now. But this is Aaron Rodgers' potentially last season, and he's got to go out and do it all. The Jets did bring in a few players this year, off season. And I'm just going to highlight a few of them here. Tyron Smith agreed to a 1-year deal. Some of these guys were, re-signed. Some of them were new guys. Mike Williams, wide receiver. Well, now that they're going to finally have a number 2 to play opposite of Garrett Wilson, that's going to give Aaron Rodgers a lot of flexibility. Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle. Jets agreed to terms with him on a 1-year deal. Tyrod Taylor, backup quarterback, smart move, keeping him around. Solomon Thomas, defensive tackle. For the 3rd straight year, Thomas signed a 1-year contract to continue playing for the Jets. He obviously sees something. They brought in Leki Fotu, defensive tackle. He's kind of a younger version of Al Woods, but he's a massive body. And that's really about it for offseason moves. Draft is pretty good. I think that the Jets belong, but I don't think that they're going to win much. I think that they're probably going to be number 2 in their division, but we'll see what happens. This is Aaron Rodgers' season to really come alive. Eric, final thoughts on the top 15. We'll go over the bottom tomorrow.
Yeah, just that the Jets are in shambles. There was all this hype around them last year. 4 plays in, Aaron goes down, their season goes down the tubes. So what's to say that he's not going to play 4 snaps again this year and the same thing happens again? What's to say it's not going to happen? I don't know. But until I see it, I won't believe it. I will say this. Mike Williams was a huge pickup. He was amazing for San Diego when he was healthy, but the kid just can't stay healthy.
So, Eric, I know you got to bounce. We'll see you tomorrow, bright and early right here on Rise and Grind. I'm going to finish with a few things about the 2024 draft picks for the Jets. And look, the Jets brought in Olumuyiwa Fashanu out of Penn State. He's obviously going to help Aaron Rodgers stay upright. Wide receiver Malachi Corley out of Western Kentucky in the third round. He is someone that's obviously going to come along a little bit slowly, but there is no reason why he can't be beneficial to this team, as a fourth option, for Aaron Rodgers. They also brought in a running back, Isaiah Davis. Haven't heard much about him, but then cornerback Quintez Stiggers, the guy that most of us Lions fans wanted to see. I'm going to be watching more Jets games this year just so I can watch Stiggers and see how well he really develops and translates to the NFL. Another CFL candidate making his way to the NFL. It's going to be a fun season to watch a lot of these guys. The Jets at 15, I guess I'll leave them there. I don't see why not. I just don't have as much faith in where the direction of this team has gone. I think there's just been too much with Aaron Rodgers. They could bring this team down if it's not handled correctly. Aaron Rodgers is a real statement. He's like a owner player. He thinks that he owns everything is what it looks like to me. But it's been a good day so far. I appreciate you guys really showed up today with the memberships. Can't thank you enough for being the best sponsors and supporters of Rock Down Detroit Lions and Rock Down Podcast Network. Can't thank you enough. It's been an amazing ride so far, being part of this community. This podcast really saved me, man, having to relearn, how to talk right again and everything after the surgery last year. And now we are here, over a year into this, and we're having a lot of fun. So I look forward to the rest of the season. Third preseason game upcoming this weekend. And then the Lions are on to the regular season. We'll be doing the live play-by-play, of course, again this weekend, covering the game. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning right here on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future.
Oh, great.
Evolution. This is the future.
Oh, great.
Evolution.